Welcome to the When Wit Happens podcast. This is a podcast that helps you find ways to celebrate and live your best life even when stuff happens. Now, here's your host, Whit West.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks since I have been on here, and that is simply because life has been a little crazy, and I have not been able to sit down to record a podcast. And part of that is a literal inability to sit down to record a podcast. I had an injury that was to my leg and hip that is pretty much healed now, but still kind of healing, but it's not in pain anymore. But it made me uncomfortable sitting, so I had to kind of lay down most of the time or sit in awkward positions so that I wasn't always in pain. And therefore, sitting at my desk at the computer or really upright in bed trying to record a podcast was just absolutely not gonna happen. And with that, things just kind of went all over the place. So things have been busy, but luckily things are getting back to normal. But during that time, I had a lot of time to think about a few things. So one of the things that I had time to think about really was letting ourselves rest when needed, but also not letting that rest turn into complacency. So I'm going to talk about that on the podcast today. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So as somebody with a chronic illness, it has been difficult for me to balance this kind of world of needing rest, but also not letting my chronic illness ruin my life or get the best of my life. But I also have to listen to my body. It was very quickly that I realized that I needed more rest, not necessarily sleep, but rest than I did previously, because my body is running extra just to like keep me alive and moving, and I'm doing way more than I probably should be doing, so that like takes an extra toll on my body. But I tend to kind of let that rest go often because it's not conducive to everything else in my life. Within a few months after getting sick, once I started going back to work, I realized that I felt better when I came home, if I just got in the bed for a little bit and laid there and rested. And then the weeks went better, I slept better, I woke up better, everything was just better. But of course, this leads to not getting stuff done. Maybe it's stuff around the house, stuff for my business, talking to friends. Stuff just does not get done. And this is also something that's piled onto you as a single person dealing with a chronic illness, because of course, if I came home and rested and I had a partner, or even a roommate, some stuff, the house would be picked up, I could have dinner cooked, things like that. So a lot of stuff where I don't have assistance just doesn't get done. This last week or so when I was recovering, I was having to just come home and get in bed and just rest. And I was remembering like how good that really feels to me. Of course, it wouldn't be as extreme as that was, but it was needed. At that point, my body, not only with the injury, but with everything else, was exhausted. The Friday after I got injured, I think I came home, got in the bed at 6, and I woke up at like 8 o'clock the next day. Didn't eat dinner, didn't do anything. And then that Saturday, I got out of bed maybe to eat, maybe did one thing and was back in bed. Then the next day I just went and got a massage, and then I came home and I was like back in bed. But this led to things falling through the cracks, like cleaning up the apartment. Luckily my clean lady was coming, so shout out to her. And then I was buying food out because I wasn't cooking and stuff as much. So I kind of had to give myself a little grace and understand that I was doing what was best for my body, although it felt like I was being lazy, and it really made me realize that I need to put some of that back into my life and to help me take care of my life. But I don't need to let it overwhelm me, because you can easily slide into settling for what seems like it's best. It says, oh, I should rest. So you're resting all the time when really you only needed 30 minutes to lay down and you could be getting busy doing whatever else the other time. Like, we all like to think we're making progress in our life and that we aren't settling, but we are settling a lot of the times. Settling seems like a curse word, a word that we wouldn't want to associate with ourselves. But if we're really, really real, we all settle every single day. It's so commonplace that you think it's how things have to be. Like, this is just how my life is, or I have to do this because of this. And you really don't have to. You have choices. It's really so commonplace at this point. When you actually start refusing to settle, it can look revolutionary and radical to other people and even to yourself. You might not even be ready to fully accept that you're actually settling in your life. I didn't even realize I was settling in my life until I really stopped doing it. And you really have to look back on the progress sometimes to really see how bad you were settling once you decide to make a choice and to do better. Even in this rest thing, like, I'm not resting as I should be, and I'm settling for how tired I'm getting, how my body's being worn down, and that does not have to be the case. I can allow myself to rest some, but not completely give up everything that I want to do. I remember when I was gonna go away to high school, going away to boarding school, was something that, I never thought of. And really, I went there. They flew me and my mom out to visit, and it seemed cool, but it was just like, this is something that I know nothing about. And I was there, and I knew nobody really thought that I was going to make that leap. So, of course, when I really thought about people thinking that it's something that I wasn't going to do, of course I had to do it, and I did it. And that same thing kind of led into how I chose my college as well. I love Princeton University. Thought I wanted to go to Princeton like my whole life. It was between like Princeton and Duke, but Princeton was literally down the street from my high school in Jersey. And I said to myself, I want to move beyond the comfort of what I already know about Lawrenceville and Princeton. I'm in Princeton every weekend, every other weekend. This is comfortable to me. So let me do something that's not as comfortable, going to an actual city like Washington, D.C. And that's what led me to George Washington University. So I started thinking back over these times in my life that I made the choice to move past the comfort zone and not settle. And that's similar to what I did when I got sick. After I got sick, the feeling and the thought that I was going to settle for the status quo of my illness was absolutely ridiculous to me. Of course, I took some time to mourn my old life and how things were and ask why. And of course, some of those feelings pop up today, but I knew I was going to move past them. When doing the research about my illness, there was nothing that told me about the progress and the process of my life moving forward. So I had no choice but to say, let me blaze my own trail. Now, I didn't know what that would look like. I couldn't have anticipated the physical, mental, and emotional toll of making the decision to fight for what I was owed, but I absolutely would not change any of it for the world. It's been 5 years, and I'm really just now coming out of some of the haze and seeing some of the light and seeing how that fight has paid off. So this is a long game. It's not always a short thing. It's a reward at the end, though. You see your life progressing and changing and getting better because of the choices you made not to settle for what is given to you, the status quo. Refusing to settle will never be easy, rarely be easy. Refusing to settle will rarely get you a raucous applause in the beginning. Refusing to settle won't look like refusing to settle for someone else. For you, it will always look different. It will look personal to you. You have to determine the life that you want to lead and the life that you don't want to lead. and work from there. It's been a process, but let me show you that it's possible against all odds. Like, I want us to truly live our best lives, even when things happen. And that's the purpose of this podcast. I want us to be great. I want us to not settle. I want us to look at these offers that are given to us and know that we deserve more, and we will do whatever it takes to push past and get what that is. So I hope that this podcast has been encouraging to you, and I just want you to never settle and live your best life. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. What Happens 6 everywhere, and I will see you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to When Wit Happens. You can find Wit living her best life at withappens6.com and at withappens6 on social media. Subscribe and follow for updates. Until next time, keep living your best life.